Hi, everyone. I am Nicole Bianchi, holistic nutritionist, and I am so excited today. I'm joined by Elaine Oyang, yoga therapist, and we are bringing you a video about yoga for constipation. So, this is such an important topic, and I can't wait to have Elaine take us through a series of moves that can help our body move um, our bowels. And it's funny, before we got onto the video, we were talking about the fact that this is kind of a funny video. People might be a little bit reticent to talk about poop with yoga, but it is so important for us to be regular with our bowel movements. And it is incredible to me how many people come to me in my nutrition practice who are not having a daily bowel movement. So we like to think of a daily bowel movement, preferably in the morning, as what is ideal. And that might not be the most common thing. So when people come in, they say, well, I thought it was normal to have only a few bowel movements per week, but it's not normal. It might be common, but it's not normal. The problem with keeping our stools in our bowel is that bowel wall is permeable, and so the things that we needed to pass through our bodies are staying in our bodies. Can make us feel sluggish. It can lead to all different types of problems, digestive and otherwise. So I want to just take a few minutes to talk about some key points when it comes to constipation and nutrition. I'm going to keep this really important, or really short, sorry. And then I just want to quickly hand it over to Elaine so that she can take us through some yoga moves that might be helpful as a tool if you're suffering from chronic or intermittent constipation. So when people come into my practice and they are saying they're experiencing constipation, most of the time they say, I feel like I am drinking plenty of water. And while proper hydration is so important, it's not the only thing that we think about nutritionally to help move the bowels. I like to think of us as potted plants. We're just potted plants with more complicated emotions. And so if you can imagine a potted plant that's in a pot of soil that's very, very dry and maybe lacking nutrition and nutrients, it's not very, very dense or nutritive soil, then if we put a lot of water in it, then the water is just going to flow right through. It's not going to get absorbed into the soil the way we want it to. And the other thing that's going to happen is that plant is not going to grow to be healthy. So in terms of constipation, when we think about putting a lot of water on that problem, while proper hydration is really, really important, other things are important too. First of all, our bowels are regulated by an electrical system. So we need electrolytes, specifically minerals like magnesium. So if you're deficient, that electrical system can break down. It can mean that the muscles in that system aren't able to move and mobilize correctly. The other thing you probably hear a lot is to eat a lot of fiber, eat enough dietary fiber. Well, it's important to eat the right types of fiber. So the soluble fiber, which the best example that I like to use is that gel around the chia seed. When you put it into water, that very jelly substance is soluble fiber, and that feeds all your good gut bacteria and kind of lines the GI wall. And then you have insoluble fiber, which is like the fibers in a stalk of celery or a stick of celery that are really coarse and can act like a broom to move things out. So when you're eating hydrating foods and you're eating fibrous foods and you're hydrating properly, you're setting the stage for better regularity in terms of your bowels and moving things out of the body, moving waste out of the body enough and regularly enough. But it is also really important that you move. So exercise of many kinds can be really helpful in keeping you regular. And yoga is a wonderful tool for that too. So I'm so excited to have Elaine here because she's going to give us some great tools and a short series of moves. And I personally am just really excited to do this practice with you, Elaine, and thanks for being here with me.
Thanks, Nicole. Thanks for the very concise explanation of what you put in the body that will also contribute to whether you have healthy bowel movements or not. And I love the analogy of the potted plant, something I never thought about, never connected, but it makes a lot of sense too, because you can visually see that, and then that applies to our bodies totally. Like Nicole introduced me as, I'm Elaine Oyang, and I'm a certified yoga therapist. I'm based in San Francisco. I work one-on-one with individuals with chronic pain or other symptoms of chronic illness so that they can feel like they have tools and pain management practices through these gentle movements to help them get stronger and to also manage their symptoms. And definitely constipation or irregular bowel movement, something that I do see a lot in my practice as well. And if I may, I would like to add like a couple things from the yoga and Ayurvedic traditions that can add to your audience who's watching in terms of helping them regulate their bowels as well. So basically Ayurveda is kind of like a sister branch to yoga. They come from this big umbrella of Vedic traditions, and they kind of evolved around the same time. And a lot of, if you practice yoga, you might have come across Ayurveda before. But in Ayurveda, it's believed that any downward movement and excretion, such as the bowel movement and urination, it is dominated by this one type of energy, or air energy, they say, that needs to constantly have that downward flow. But in our society today, and especially during a pandemic, that probably isn't quite happening, as we're really ungrounded, where you feel really unsettled, we feel really stressed out, we're not sure what the future looks like, and that can actually disrupt that downward flow when you're not feeling like you're rooted in anything. Everything is just kind of carried up here. You're constantly worrying and constantly trying to figure things out, and that just kind of disrupt that. We need that upward, but we also need that downward flow to move things down and out. And if you're feeling particularly stressed out, if you travel a lot, or if you're always on the go, or if you just tend to not be able to sit still, we feel restless a lot, then that could be an indicator that your downward flow of energy is not strong enough, it's not prominent enough to help you carry that through. And so today our yoga practice is all about cultivating and emphasizing that downward flow of movement. So it's going to go a little slower. It's going to be a lot of more reclined and seated positions, so that we really get rooted down into the base of our pelvis and our lower abdomen area. So for today's class, I know, Nicole, you say you only have a yoga mat, which is totally fine. But if you have some sort of pillows or couch cushions or something, you can use that later on. We will be seated in a cross-leg position on the floor later on, and that usually is just a little more comfortable for most people to be able to sit on. And if you have a couple of yoga blocks, that would also be helpful. These are not absolutely necessary. If you don't have any of these, that's totally fine. I'll also show you an alternative or modification that you can do without these props. So I'm going to go and hop onto my yoga mat back there.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned a couple of those things, Elaine. First of all, thank you so much for bringing the emotional aspect into the conversation, because it is so intimately connected. Our emotions, our mental, our spiritual state with our GI is undeniable. I think that for me in the past, yoga has been such a wonderful way to reconnect to that. So I feel like there are a lot of facets to the benefit of bringing in yoga for something like this, like IBS constipation or intermittent constipation when you're traveling or maybe having more stress. And then also, yes, I'm here with my yoga mat and a couple of blankets underneath me. And I'm happy that it illustrates that we can do this practice really with things at home. You don't have to run out and order, blocks or bolster or anything like that. You can do it just with a simple yoga mat, or maybe even just a towel if you don't have a yoga mat. I'm sure anything like that will do. So, but if you have your mat, it's a great time to roll it out and grab something for your seat to make you comfortable, and we'll get going with this series. Sound good?
Yeah. Okay, so we're actually going to start off lying down on your back. And so if you're sitting on anything right now, you can take that out, unless you want a pillow or a blanket underneath your head when you lie down. So let me demonstrate what that looks like here. So you're gonna lie down and have your knees bent and your feet on the floor. And if you choose to use a blanket or pillow underneath your head, you can slide that underneath right now, especially if you have neck or shoulder tension. That's always a good idea. Just a little bit of something, not too high. And we're going to start with just a very simple abdominal massage. So your colon actually runs from the bottom right of your belly up along to the right side of your rib cage, across just underneath the rib cage, and then down onto the left side to the lower left end of your abdomen. Okay, so basically we're going to rub and massage the tummy in a clockwise position, clockwise to you. So 12 o'clock would be towards your feet and 6 o'clock would be towards your head. And I'm going to just sit up for a moment here to demonstrate what that looks like, so you can see how I'm massaging. So I'm placing the palms of my hand across the belly and just very lightly, with a little pressure, going across in this clockwise direction. So this is just a very, very simple belly massage to start stimulating the peristalsis, which is the muscles, the movement of muscles that actually helps carry the excretion along your colon. Okay, so you're just going to do that a few times here, just in this clockwise motion. And if you feel or hear your belly make some sound, that's totally normal. It's probably good. That means things are moving along. And then just a couple more or so. And this is also a really good way to just bring your awareness kind of down in your belly, into your pelvis. Because we live so much just above our neck nowadays, and this touch to the belly, it's like it's warming, it's nurturing, it's nourishing, all that it needs to just move things along. So it's kind of like you're keeping it juicy almost. All right, and then you can relax your arms. You can keep them on your belly if you like. Just rest here for a moment. And take a few easy breaths in and out. And if you have your hands on your belly, so you can feel your breath expand upwards into your hands as you inhale. And your belly softening as you exhale. Inhaling into your belly, let your hands expand upwards. And exhaling, lowering down. And continue a few more like this. You really want to make sure that you can feel your belly expand up into your hands as you inhale. So this is another seemingly almost too simple trick to help move things along in the bowels, because we don't really breathe all the way down into the belly anymore, and a simple belly breathing can also help stimulate things. It provides a very subtle internal abdominal massage by just breathing all the way in and down to your belly. Inhaling, let your belly expand into your hands, and exhaling, let your belly soften. And one more time like this. On your next exhale, you can return to your normal breathing, and then bring your knees into your chest. Hold them with your hands. So your knees are side by side, your thighs are leaning inwards towards your belly, your knees in towards your chest here. Elbows are by your side, so don't poke your elbows out. This will tense your shoulders too much. Keep your elbows down and close by your side. And we're going to do a simple movement called Apanasana. And Apana, part of the Apanasana, Apana is the name for that downward flow. So this pose, this movement, literally is a pose to help with that downward flow of energy that is needed for any kind of excretion of the body. And it's very simple to do. So you start here, your knees into your chest, exhale here. And then when you inhale, guide your knees away from your body, straighten your elbows. So your thighs and knees are above your hips right now. And you keep your knees bent and relaxed. So you're holding onto your knees still. Then exhale, bend your elbows to bring your knees back in towards your chest. And then inhale, straighten your arms to guide your knees away. And you just repeat this along with the pace of your breath. Exhaling, bring your knees in. And inhaling, bring your knees away by straightening your elbows. And so this provides a little bit more of lower back and abdominal massage as well. And like I said, literally is a downward flow movement. Go for 2 more. Inhale, straightening your arms to guide your knees away. And exhale, bring your knees into your chest. Good. Inhale, guiding your knees away. And exhale, bring your knees into your chest. This time as you bring your knees into your chest, wrap your arms over your shin so that you hug your legs in a little closer towards your body. And let your breath go all the way down into your belly again. You may feel your belly press into your thighs as you inhale. And let your belly soften as you exhale. And then step your feet down to the floor, one at a time, still keeping your knees bent and your feet on the mat. And then sway your knees side to side gently, as if they're windshield wipers. You don't have to press your knees all the way down to the floor. Just let them sway side to side, going just as far as they are comfortable to going. And you can just breathe as you would normally. You don't have to necessarily match this with any breathing pattern. And the next time that you sway your knees to your right side, you can just let yourself hang out there a little while, if that's comfortable. If it's not, if it feels uncomfortable in your knees or in your lower back or hips, then just continue swaying side to side, or you can skip this altogether and just rest with your knees bent and feet on the floor. Otherwise, if you're swaying your knees out to the right side, let's stay here a couple more breaths. Breathing down and into your belly. And exhaling, softening your belly. Remember, the belly breath can help move things along and massage into your abdominal, internal organs as well. And then on your next inhale, bring your knees all the way back up to middle and then to your left side. So again, you're going to just let your knees hang out over to the left. It's okay if they don't touch the floor. them just kind of hang out. You may feel a stretch in the side of your waist and lower back as well. But if you feel any discomfort in your knees or lower back or hips, then you can just keep swaying gently or just come back to center. Relax through your jaw, neck, and shoulders. Take a nice deep breath into your belly. An easy breath out. And another one like that in through your belly. And an easy breath out. And then on your next inhale, bring your knees all the way back up to center. Pause here and rest here for a breath. And then roll onto one side. Doesn't matter which side. Press yourself up. And you're going to come onto hands and knees position with your wrists underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. We're going to move the spine here a little bit, and that just kind of overall stimulates your entire body to just move and keep the muscles juicy. So it's kind of juicing up the whole spine, which will help with the bowel movement as well. When you inhale, I'm going to let your spine arch, so belly is draping down, your chest slowly stretching forward, and you're gazing slightly ahead. And then when you exhale, push into your arms around your spine, and then bring your hips back towards your heels with your elbows resting down to the floor. If your hips don't come all the way down to your heels, that's fine. Just let them stop wherever they stop. We're going to keep moving here. Inhale, press with your legs to come back up onto your hands and knees and bring a little arch through your spine. Exhale, push into your arms to round and then move your hips back towards your heels. Continue. Inhale, coming up. A little arch, gazing ahead. Exhale, push your arms into the floor as you bring your hips back, elbows down. 2 more here. Inhale. And exhale. Last one, inhale, pressing back up, hands and knees, a little arch, let your belly soften. And exhale, push down into your arms and legs and bring your hips back. Good, and then return back up onto your hands and knees. So here, we're gonna set up for a seated position. So this is where you can bring in some pillows or some cushions or some stacked blankets to sit on, okay? So here I just have a yoga bolster. Again, you don't need to have any of these props. You can just use whatever thick and firm that you have around at home. You're gonna sit in a cross-leg position here with your hands resting on your thighs. Now, I'd like you to just lean slightly back. So we tend to kind of sit and lean forward because we're such a forward-thinking culture, forward-thinking society, always trying to plan ahead, that we never really actually sit and root down into our hips anymore. We're always kind of like on the edge of our seat. So just let yourself lean a little bit back so you can really feel that weight straight down through your hips here. Now, if you're here seated in this cross-leg position and you're not comfortable, if it bothers your knees or hips, then move to a chair. You can always take an option of the chair here, or just find something higher to sit on. So yeah, you're seated, propped up a little higher. Okay, so we're gonna start with a little bit of hip and lower waist circles. So with your hands on your thighs, you're simply going to start to lean forward and then out to the sides, to the back, the other side, in a circular motion. Doesn't matter which direction you go, okay? So, because we're gonna go both ways. Or you can just start in the small circles. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable so that you can really feel the kind of a massaging effect down into your lower belly, lower back, and hips. And breathing easily as you go along. And if you feel comfortable, you can also widen your circle a little bit so that you get a little stretch out of it through your waist and through your lower back. Now as you circle, allow your belly to remain soft as much as possible to your best ability. And you can even imagine your entire torso or your spine kind of like this long wooden rod that is scooping or swirling through a bowl. So your pelvis, your hips is shaped kind of like a bowl. So imagine your spine is kind of like swirling inside, massaging inside this bowl. And then go ahead and reverse your circle if you haven't already. I'd like you to also notice the base of your pelvis, the very lower part of your hips where you can feel their sit bones and kind of the tissues and muscles between your sit bones. And feel how that presses into whatever you're sitting on as you circle. And let that space soften as well. Let's do a couple more circles around. And then return back to center with your spine upright. And you'll just stay at center for a moment here so you can find the weight of your body leaning straight down through your hips and pelvis again. And take a nice full belly breath in. And a full belly breath out. Okay. So from here, I'd like you to straighten your legs out in front of you. And we're going to do kind of a supported squat. So you know those squatty potties that are so popular nowadays that helps you have a smoother bowel movement? Well, they're invented for a reason because in a lot of countries, they're still squatting to excrete stuff, and that's actually a better way for your colon and your bowels to actually empty cleanly. So we're going to do a simplified and modified squatting position, which will help with, even if you can't squat, this will be something that should be accessible for you, just so you can start to get used to that movement or that position. And it also provides some massaging effect for your belly as well, which is all good. So from what you're sitting on, you're going to bend one knee and bring your heels as close to the prop that you're sitting on as possible. Now, if you're sitting on the floor, if you don't have any problem, you're sitting on the floor, then this might be a little bit more challenging for you. So I would really recommend finding, even if it's like a low stool or something, you can sit on that too. All right, so now you can also bring the other leg in, and your heels, your feet they're wide, they're pretty wide, maybe about shoulder width or a little wider, okay? And that's it. You're gonna have your heels into the propping that you're sitting on, your knees slightly apart, and you can hold onto your shins or your knees to help lift your chest up, okay? And this might be a very new position. Maybe it might feel awkward at first. It might feel like you're kind of crouching, so you can definitely use your legs to just pull yourself up a little and drop your shoulders down. Okay, and we're gonna stay here for 5 breaths. You might feel a stretch in your hips. You might feel a stretch in your calves and thighs. That's all normal. But if you feel pain, then you can come out of it, go sit on a chair, or just sit in that cross-leg position. All right, so nice deep breath into your belly. And easy breath out. Deep breath into your belly. You may feel your belly press against your thighs. And deep breath out. Now here's another challenge for you. As you breathe into your belly, so you can breathe all the way down to your pelvic floor, to the base of your hips. So it's almost like your breath is pushing downward into the propping that you're sitting on. 2 more like this. Inhaling to your belly or the base of your hips. Exhale. And inhale fully. Exhale easily. Good. And then you can let go of your hands and legs. You can stretch both of your legs out in front of you again. Give them a little shake. And you can either choose to sit back with your legs crossed, or if you haven't had enough of sitting on the floor, you can always sit back on a chair. We're going to spend another minute or two sitting here. So do make sure you're comfortable. So once you have come to a comfortable sitting position, you can rest your hands on your thighs or knees or wherever you can kind of forget about them. Close your eyes, or you can just lower your gaze downward slightly. And again, allow yourself a few exhales to feel the weight of your body settle down into your hips. And as you sit here, I'd like you to imagine your torso and your hips as this vase or vase where it's kind of thin and skinny at the top. And as it reaches your belly, your waist and hips, it kind of widens out. So it's like this big vessel at the bottom. So long and skinny from your head, neck, your rib cage, and then as it hits your waist and pelvis and hips, it widens out. And at the bottom and inside of this vessel, imagine it's being filled with warm liquid, warm fluid. It can be just plain water if you like, or you can have some created magical fluid of color of your choice, but it is warm and it kind of hugs into your belly. It's almost like that feeling when you sit into a warm bath, how the muscles of your back and arms and legs start to relax. But here, this water, this bath is inside and it warms your muscles and your internal organs from the inside. And this fluid is heavy and weighted down in your hips. And with each breath that you take, it's almost like a little wind or something that sweeps across the surface of this fluid a little, kind of stir things up just a little bit there. Maybe you can feel the movement of it. And just simply hold this image of this vessel, holding this warm fluid inside of you that's warming you from the inside out for a few more breaths. And then you can start to return from that imagery. So kind of exit out, step away from that imagery, and bring your awareness to your body again, and just to the peripheries of your body, just outside, maybe the space you are in. Maybe you can feel the depth of the room. Maybe you can feel the light through your eyelids. Just so kind of expanding your awareness outward again. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes slowly and return back. And thank you for joining in on this practice.
Thank you so much, Elaine. It is amazing what just bringing awareness to that area can do. I feel very relaxed, which is a key in returning to the part of our nervous system that is rest and digest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, just a couple of final questions for you. One is, how often can one use this practice, and what part of the day is a good time, or is any time of day a good time?
Yeah, I would suggest if someone has like constant and chronic constipation, they can do this practice daily. And like you mentioned, it is very much relaxing because we're trying to just pull things down to help get that downward flow of energy going. So daily is great, and ideally, this is ideal. In Ayurveda, it is best to eliminate first thing in the morning within a couple hours of waking up. So the ideal time to do would be in the morning, just to get things moving. Ideally you'll have a little bit of warm water as well before that. That will also help. And then you can do this short practice. And if at first things are not moving, don't feel like you failed or anything, because it does take time for your body to get used to it and to adapt to it and kind of come back to its own natural cycle. And if morning just isn't an easy time for you, if you're busy in the morning with your family or little children, totally understand. So whatever time that you have in the day, 20 minutes or so to do this can also help. And not only will that help with any constipation, but any kind of stress, anxiety, to just pull things down a little, that would be also very helpful.
Great advice. And the second question for you is, where can people find you if they want to learn more about the yoga therapy that you provide? I'm going to put in the notes underneath this video that information. So for those of you out there watching, don't feel like you have to furiously write this down, but I just wanted to have a chance to let us know where we can find you to learn more.
Absolutely. You can either find me on my website, which is elaineyoga.com, or if you want more short videos, practice videos like this, I have a whole library of them on my YouTube page, and that's under Yoga with Elaine. I'll send you the link for that, Nicole.
Okay, I would love to provide everyone the links so that they can see more. And for those of you who are new to my practice and my work, I am a certified holistic nutritionist at NicoleBianchiNutrition.com. And you can find me on Instagram at the Gut Restoration Project. So we're looking forward to doing more of these projects together. So stay tuned for some fun projects, some very valuable projects linking the yoga practice and Ayurveda and nutrition together to give people tools where they can really do self-care simply. So thank you again, Elaine, for being here with me today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.